Time 125. It's Money Watch.
Times are tough for millions of workers, but it's a great time to be a bankruptcy lawyer. I'm Jeff Colvin of Fortune magazine with the Fortune Business Update. Job postings overall have fallen by January on the online job board ZipRecruiter, but openings for bankruptcy lawyers have tripled. Big corporate law firms are adding lawyers to their bankruptcy teams in preparation for a deluge of business restructurings. They've already started with J. Crew, JCPenney, and Neiman Marcus among the most famous firms to file. There aren't nearly enough bankruptcy lawyers to meet the need, so some firms are making do with younger attorneys who have limited experience. Attorneys with experience in other business-related specialties are getting crash courses in bankruptcy law and will be supervised by bankruptcy veterans. Proceeds are actually down because of new government support payments in April and May, but experts expect a surge in personal filings later this year as well. Olvin.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I love you, Amy!
The time is now to rise up. Gone are the days of being locked into by your wireless company. We're humans. We need flexibility. Let us change our data options when we want to. It's all the shots on our phone bills. It's time we took a stand and switched to Xfinity Mobile. We can switch data options anytime, all online. Only Xfinity Mobile works for the people.
Hey, what about 5G?
Yes, 5G is now included with all new data options at no extra cost. More thing, pineapple belongs on pizza. It should be on every pizza. Should have quit while I was ahead.
Switch and save up to on your wireless bill. Your wireless, your rules, only with Xfinity Mobile. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go to XfinityMobile.com or call 1-800-XFINITY today. Restrictions apply. Requires postpay Xfinity Internet 5G in select locations only.
This is an important message about coronavirus. You are at higher risk for getting seriously ill if you are over 65, if you have any serious underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease like asthma, diabetes, or if you are undergoing cancer treatment. Stay home. Avoid close contact with others. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds. Disinfect frequently touched objects like doorknobs and light switches. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information from the CDC. For more, .com/stay connected.
Hello, folks. Times like these can be scary for just about anyone. But for those struggling with chronic health conditions, times like these are a wake-up call. Dr. John Phil, thousands of patients overcome all types of chronic health conditions over the past 32 years. So if you struggle with things like chronic knee pain, even bone-on-bone arthritis, chronic neck, such as bulging or herniated discs, spinal stenosis, or sciatica, you can get 80 to 100% relief in just a few days to a few months. Do you have thyroid problems, diabetes, autoimmune, or other chronic conditions? Let this be the year you take control of your health. Dr. Filippini is open and taking new patients, both in office and through phone consultations. For those who are not ready to be in a public setting yet, he has clean and sterile facilities and will keep your health his #1 priority. Don't wait until you completely lose your health or your ability to enjoy life to make the changes necessary. Learn more or schedule online at AbundantLifeHNW.com or call 925-403-4812. That's AbundantLifeHNW.com or 903-4812.
Looking for essential businesses open in your area while we shelter in place? KCBSradio.com/local has a complete list in your county. Dolan's Home Improvement Centers in Concord and Pinole are open and delivering large and small orders throughout the Bay Area and wine country. Get more information at Dolan Lumber and stay safe and well. We encourage you to support your local businesses, and we're dedicated to helping the Bay Area stay connected. For more information, go to radio.com/stay.
KCBS News Time 128. Traffic and weather together. First stop for Peter Schofield is Milpitas.
This is 880 northbound, just beyond Dixon Landing Road. It's a hit-and-run crash. The victim car was clipped by one of 4 cars that were racing on the freeway. Just kept on racing, and the car that was hit is now on the right-hand shoulder, waiting for the CHP. A BART delay for San Francisco. BART is single tracking between the Chin and Embarcadero stations. That is for scheduled maintenance on the tracks. You can expect delays toward the East Bay and SFO from those stations for 30 minutes or so, and BART requires requires all passengers wear a face mask or a covering. Starting tomorrow at 5 in the morning, the express lanes in the Bay Area will no longer. Traffic on most Bay Area freeways has returned to as much as 80% of what it was a year ago, so the express lanes will no longer be free for solo drivers. The rates will be posted on the overhead signs. All that begins again Monday morning, tomorrow morning at 5. Your next traffic update, 1:38 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
And your KCBS forecast to round out your weekend. Lots of clouds around the Bay Area and cooler temperatures. Highs in the 60s at the coast, low 70s by the Bay, and upper 70s inland. Mostly cloudy overnight and clouds into tomorrow morning. But then we'll have a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon and breeze. Highs in the 60s to mid 70s. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
The average time around an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent, and that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
News that matters to you around the Bay, around the world, around the clock. All News 106.9 and AM 7 KCBS.
It's Sunday, May 31st, 2020, coming up on KCBS.
I'm Jennifer Hodges. How the job of a journalist has changed heightened times.
And cities are preparing for another night of demonstrations over the death of George Floyd. KCBS News Time, 1:31.
CBS News special report. The question once again for local officials around the country, what happens tonight? The death of African-American George Floyd after he was pinned down by a white policeman have often turned violent. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo.
We had a significant state police presence all upstate New York. We have the National Guard on standby. We expect additional protests tonight, and we're preparing for such.
Floyd family attorney Ben Crump was on CBS's Face the Nation.
Many elected officials have to understand that it's not these protesters started these fires across America. It is police brutality and a racist criminal justice system.
San Francisco's mayor says the city's curfew will be extended indefinitely and people out after that time will be stopped. CBS News Special Report, I'm Sam Litzinger.
KCBS News Time 2. With violence and confusion on the streets, it's not a great time to be a reporter covering a protest. KCBS's Jennifer Hodges says in some cases is being targeted from both sides.
The wrongful arrest of a CNN crew, a reporter purposely targeted with rubber bullets. Do journalists need to know who they are out on the scene?
I do think that there are journalists who have that instinct to kind of blend in with the crowd, but I think certainly in the trainings that we provide for journalists, for them to identify themselves clearly.
Katie Townsend is the legal director for the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press.
I think it's really important for journalists when they're covering protests to respond to the situations around them and to have a lot of situational awareness. Obviously, personal safety is something that is very important, and I think it can vary how a journalist should respond in a given situation.
Townsend says journalists have a First Amendment right to cover public events. Jennifer BS.
The owner of a downtown Oakland cannabis dispensary says as many as 10 people broke into his business Friday night and made off with thousands of dollars. KCBS's Jeffrey Schaub reports it wasn't the only cannabis shop targeted amid rioting Friday night.
The front entryway to the Eco Cannabis store on New was shut Friday night. An elaborate security system kept track of any activity. Then later that evening, owner Kevin A. Hasey says 10 individuals signed.
They also had a lot of cannabis paraphernalia on, like, sweatshirts and T-shirts. And so, they were looking to get free cannabis, and they got it.
He preferred not to say how much his losses were, except that it was a lot. A. Hasey says he believes the robbers took advantage of the rioting going on downtown, but were not necessarily outsiders.
I would say, from everything we could tell, it was local people.
Police did make 2 arrests deaths yesterday. A Hasey says police investigators to West Oakland dispensaries were robbed. He understands police had their hands full Friday night, but it was hours before they responded.
I think that we pay extremely high fees to the city of Oakland, and I think if they're going to make us an exception in that respect, then they also have to make us an exception in protecting us.
In Oakland, KCBS.
KCBS News Time 1:34. Here's Animal Update.
How to socialize your puppy or kitten in this era of COVID-19. Topic on Animal Update with Dr. Jennifer Scarlett, president of the San Francisco SPCA. And I'm Jeff Bell. Dr. Scarlett, before we dive into how to socialize puppies and kittens, first remind us why socialization is so important.
Well, socialization is that time in a puppy or kitten's life between, 4 and about 4 months of age where they really take in the world. And if you socialize an animal during this time, they can usually go on to adapt to new environments much better than if they're not socialized. So it's really important, especially in urban environments, that they get used to all of the strange sights and sounds that we live in.
We're hearing about a lot of people adopt during this shelter-in-place time. What can new guardians do to socialize their young pets?
Yeah, it's a tough time because we're supposed to stay away from other people. If you have a dog, you can still take it out for walks. And though you don't want people to come up and pet your dog during shelter-in-place, you can still reward them with chicken treats or something really yummy as people pass by, so they can get used to seeing people of different heights, wearing hats, wearing masks, and get used to all the noises outside. The other thing that you can do is online training classes for kittens as well at the San Francisco SPCA. And then our training partners, Prime Paw, also offers online training. Lastly, the other thing is get your young dog or your new dog into a day training care facility. Again, Prime Paw is one of many that offers this. That way they can meet new people, get some training, as well as learn some exercises to relax and wait and learn to be alone. All of that is available during shelter in place, and we recommend advantage of it.
That is Animal Update with Dr. Jennifer Scarlett of the San Francisco SPCA. I'm Jeff Bell, KCBS.
Since 1950, Clark Pest Control, area's trusted source for eradicating unwanted pests, termites, bugs, rodents, and more. And now they are also offering their Essential Clean disinfecting service for U16. Contact Clark Pest Control for your free contactless inspection today. All services will be performed by technicians wearing PPE gear and, as always, backed by the Troll Guarantee. Call 1-800-WE-NEED-YOU or visit clarkpest.com. That's clarkpest.com.
It's one thing to be stuck in your house team. It's another thing to be stuck with a house. We've got good news for homeowners listening throughout the Bay Area. John Buys Bay Area Houses is still bought. More importantly, we offer sellers a completely virtual selling process that maintains social distancing standards. Sell your home now. Call John today and get a cash offer in just 7 minutes. Call 510-426-7000. Can't collect rent? Not a problem. We buy My Tenant Won't Pay Me the Rent houses as well as vacant houses. We buy houses as is and in any condition. If you own a house and want to sell it fast at a fair price, call John Buys Bay Area Houses today at 510-426-7000. Sell your home now. Call John today and get a cash offer in just 7 minutes. Call 510-426-7000. That's 510-426-7000. 510-426-7000.
This crisis has changed almost everything, not our resolve. We've pulled together, worked hard to keep each other safe. We've flattened the curve and are starting to reopen our community. We can protect the people we love and help Californians get back on their feet. For our families and our communities, let's stay the course and stop the spread. Visit covid19.ca.gov.
K-Time 1:38, traffic and weather together. Heading to Lodi. Peter Schofield, what's the update?
Well, I got a call from the KCBS phone force asking about specifically in Lodi. I took a look. No scheduled Caltrans work at all. I am seeing some sluggish traffic, though, on Highway 12 in Lodi between Lower Sacramento Road and Stockton Street, but nothing is blocking on Highway 12. However, on Highway 12 at the Mokelumne River, traffic is slowing down in both directions as it accommodates some traffic passing the bridge. You can use the KCBS phone force number if you have traffic for us. That number is 415-391-KCBS. KCBS 3917. In Pittsburgh, Highway 4 westbound at Bailey Road on the right shoulder, the CHP is clearing away the last of some furniture that was dropped across all lanes while you have a tap or two on the brakes as you pass by Bailey Road in Pittsburgh on the westbound side of Highway 4. Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered. They help millions of people like you get privacy online without any trade-offs. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo simplified. Your next traffic update, 1:48 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
And your KCBS forecast, lots of cloudy skies and cooler out the Bay Area. Highs in the 60s at the coast, low 70s by the Bay, upper 70s inland. Tonight it'll be mostly cloudy with lows in the low to mid. Tomorrow morning, more cloudy skies, then a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon, and highs in the 60s to mid 70s. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
This is Larry Fleck, owner of the Floor Store. All of us here are overjoyed to be open again. But you know who's really excited? It's designers, because they can't wait to get back to helping you with your redecorating plans. So to help them help you, we're having a reopening sale. Up to 50% off store-wide, 24 months interest-free financing, and no sales tax. All in a clean and safe environment. Come in soon, our designers are waiting for you. Go to floorstores.com to find the nearest of our 9 showrooms. San Jose. The Floor Store, your Bay Area flooring authority.
Right now, home sweet home has never been sweeter. Our homes are more important than ever, and finding people we trust to take care is important. For over 20 years, Home Advisor has been connecting homeowners with trusted local plumbers, electricians, roofers, and more. And now we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the Home Advisor network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer200. That's homeadvisor.com/offer200.
It all starts with just one thing. 3D printing is helping to reduce food waste, and it helps turn paste from otherwise items into delicious baked goods with intricate designs. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
KCBS News Time 1:41. In addition to San Francisco, National Guard are also being sent to Los Angeles after a 4th day of violent protests. The nation's second largest demonstrators clash with officers, torch police cars, and pillage businesses. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti said he asked Governor Newsom for 500 to 700 members of the Guard to assist the 10,000 LAPD officers. One of the things about facing an unprecedented crisis is that you just don't know what to expect. And as the Bay Area begins to lift its COVID-19 lockdown orders, KCBS reporter Keith Manconi, all this uncertainty is creating its own set of challenges.
Because most of us have never been in a pandemic lockdown before, we've also never seen what happens when a pandemic lockdown is lifted. So, says UC Santa Cruz infectious disease researcher Marm Kilpatrick,
we don't really fully understand the consequences of each stage of reopening.
And that's why many county health officers are opting to space out each of those stages. The goal being to give enough time in between to get a sense of what the impact has been.
We basically reopen, let's say, in-restaurant dining. Is that going to push us over the edge? And if so, we'd like to know that relatively quickly and unfortunately probably have to take a step back and stop that or put something else in place to limit transmission. And until we really have that information, then it's difficult to know exactly what to do next.
The reopening plans are complicated, so for a way to get a better handle on it all, look no further. Our full conversation with Dr. Kilpatrick on the science behind the reopening plans is available online right on KCBS's How to Bay Area podcast. Again, that's How to Bay Area wherever you get your podcasts. Keith Manconi, KCBS.
CAL FIRE is investigating what started a brush fire at Round Valley Regional Preserve. It was first reported around 4:15 yesterday afternoon when crews it had already burned about 20 acres. After ground and air attack, it was put under control and ended up burning about 60 acres. No injuries or damage to structures reported. KCBS News Time 1:43. Kevin the Rat has sports next.
Semper Solaris, veteran-owned. Solar panels made in America. Roofing with a 50-year Owens Corning Platinum Protection Warranty and battery storage with Tesla Powerwall. Heating and air conditioning with a lifetime warranty. All made in America. No supply chain issues. Semper Strong. Keep America working. Call now, 884-1816 or visit sempersolaris.com. Some restrictions apply. Call or see website for details. CSLB number 978-152.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Whenever the news breaks, wherever the news breaks, you can count on us.
KCBS's Tim Ryan, he's on the scene. A 4-alarm fire burning at this hour at San Francisco's Fisherman's.
CBS is the only news station broadcast.
Xfinity XFi is more than just fast. It's internet that gives you ultimate control. With the XFi app, you can pause the Wi-Fi at the push of a button. Can your internet do that? Learn more at xfinity.com/xfi.
$1:45. It's Steve Bichter with sports.
Commissioner Gary Bettman has gone live with the specifics, at least some of the specifics, on the planned return to the NHL playoffs. Expanded from 16 to 24 teams, with the Sharks out of the top 24. Thus, their season is done, as it is but the Stanley Cup is still up for grabs for the remaining 24.
We have constructed an overall plan that includes all teams that, as a matter, might have had a chance of qualifying for the playoffs when the season was paused. And this plan will produce a worthy Stanley Cup champion who will have run the postseason gauntlet that is unique to the NHL.
The 4 top teams will play one another to determine the top 4 seeds. Other 20 will open with best-of-5 series. The next 2 series, beginning with a round of 16, will be best-of-5 or 7, still undecided, followed by the Cup finals, both best-of-7. All the games will be played in 2 as yet to be determined hub cities, chosen from a group of 10 that applied, including L.A., Vegas, and Vancouver. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, meantime, going a step further, suggesting that all 30 NBA teams return with 5 to 7 games each before a play-in tournament to determine the top 16 seeds. So under this scenario, even the Warriors, with a record of 50, would still have a chance to go all the way. Wow. At the sports desk, Steve Bitter, KCBS.
Are you curious about the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. Deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Multiplying Good has 1 in a Million awards campaign to recognize people who are making a difference through service during this hard time. Celebrate the restaurant owner delivering free meals to the homeless, ordering food for the elderly, the student making signs to encourage our first responders. Anyone who is leaning in to help can receive this award. Nominate day at sanfrancisco.multiplyinggood.org. Help recognize the millions who are powering service to others.
CBS News Time 1:48 traffic and your 6-day forecast heading to San Francisco. It's Peter Schofield.
This is on 19th Avenue, Highway 1. Waze Force checking in on a fender bender that's pitching off traffic northbound 19th Avenue between Sloat and Terabel. Also some road work along 19th Avenue. Both directions, various lanes affected. After you pass Terabel northbound on 19th Avenue, no significant delays on through the. There is a BART delay for San Francisco. BART is single tracking between the 24th Mission and Embarcadero stations for scheduled maintenance on the tracks. You can expect delays toward the East Bay and SFO from those stations. You can allow an extra 30 minutes for that, and BART requires all passengers to wear a face or mask or covering. Cash at any of the Bay bridges, that is still the rule. No cash handling at the bridges was one of the first protections enacted as the pandemic emerged, and it may go away. So even with shelter in place being modified, the no cash policy at all the bridges, that is still in effect. Just drive on through and you'll get a bill. Your next traffic update at 1:58 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
And your Mancini's 6-day forecast in this challenging time. Mancini's is still delivering comfort to the Bay Area. Visit sleepworld.com. Cooler temperatures remain throughout the day along with those cloudy skies. 60s at the coast, upper 70s inland. Tomorrow morning with a mix of clouds and sun in the afternoon. Breezy in the afternoon as well. Highs in the 60s to low 80s. Tuesday and Wednesday, the temperature coming up with clear skies and highs in the low 70s by the coast, 80s by the bay, and low to mid 90s inland. Then Thursday and Friday, slight sunny with highs in the 60s to low 90s. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
A special report. The attorney representing the family of George Floyd says an independent autopsy will be completed today and the results announced tomorrow. Benjamin Crump says the family, quote, rejects the notion from the Minneapolis medical examiner that the knee from the police officer on George's neck for almost 9 minutes was the cause of his death. Crump spoke on CBS's Face the Nation about the protests that have swept the country since Floyd's death.
He's just the latest point in a string of killings of unarmed black people at the hands, or should I say, in his case, the NIOs. Many elected officials have to understand that it's not these protesters that started these fires across America. It is police brutality and a racist criminal justice system.
CBS News Special Report, I'm Wendy Gillette.
KCBS News Time 1:51, Bijan Siavoshi and Amelia Pereira at the editor's desk. A San Francisco nonprofit food truck has responded to the COVID-19 pandemic, thousands of free meals to residents in need. And as we hear from KCBS reporter Melissa Colross, the founders of Mobilize Love are not stopping soon.
Mobilize Love brings mobile services such as haircuts, laundry facilities, and sidewalk after-school programs to vulnerable San Franciscans. The organization has a food truck that delivers free hot meals to residents. Mobilize Love co-founder Christian Huang says the meals are made fresh.
We're a real food truck. It's not just like a box truck where we hand out already produced meals. It's a $100,000 commercial kitchen on wheels.
The COVID-19 pandemic shut down most of Mobilize Love's operations except the food truck, so the organization has been focusing on that since mid-March. Huang says the goal the first week was to deliver 100 meals, then 200 the next, and it just has grown.
We've ramped up a lot. We've added multiple sites, and we did pass the 5,000 mark, but it's kind of exponentially growing now because we have now more sites that need to be added. We're hoping to serve, over 20,000 by the end of July.
Mobilize Love was founded in 2018, and Huang says the organization has been delivering meals mostly to sites in the city's Bay Sunset neighborhoods. Melissa Colross, KCBS.
Some home builders are optimistic about the future despite the economic downturn brought on by the pandemic. KCBS's Matt Bigler explains from the East Bay.
We're cautiously optimistic.
Gary Galindo, president of Signature Homes in Pleasanton, says there are two reasons for that. Interest rates continue to fall, and believe it or not, the fallout from the shelter in place.
I'll be curious to see what the results of the kind of work from home phenomenon that's taken over recently.
He says more tech workers may decide to move to the suburbs, knowing they can work from home and have a yard. Even though business took a dive after the first quarter, Galindo says interest in new homes is starting to tick up again, and he says they are using a touchless experience for their model home tours.
So we're only allowing one group, or not just one person, but if a family comes, we're allowing one group into each house at a time, monitoring that. But we are also making sure there's enough hand sanitizer, that we are providing that PPE out there.
In the East Bay, Matt Bigler, KCB.
In the wake of protests across the country, 49er CEO Jed York says the team is donating $1 million to local and national organizations creating change. York announced the donation in a tweet last night, saying the team is supporting the priorities of the Players Coalition, that's an organization of NFL players, with the goal of making an impact on social justice and racial equality. It's not the first time the team has donated to a social justice nation. They made a similar donation to local groups when former 49er quarterback Colin Kaepernick started protesting during the national anthem. KCBS News Time, 1:55. It's Money Watch.
As construction projects slowly restart amid the industry is digging itself out of a major hole. New U.S. home construction plummeted more than 30% in April, the most since record-keeping began in 1950.
Projects that have been suspended or even projects that have continued have not continued at the same pace.
Brian Northrup is executive vice president at the global company Skanska and outlined the cost of sanitation, personal protective equipment, and worker distancing.
When we need to socially distance, we've had to reduce the tradespeople on the project at a given time. So some projects we've gone to working multiple shifts a day, which has some cost and shift differential and additional supervision.
The effects are hitting every aspect of the industry, with John Deere predicting sales of construction equipment down as much as 40% this year. Home Depot sales rose 7% in the first quarter, but coronavirus-related costs dragged down earnings.
Ann Mostu, Bloomberg Business for KCBS.
Are you efficient at wasting money? Well, that's exactly what you're doing by installing a new furnace or air conditioner if your attic's not properly insulated. You need to check out Eagle Shield High Performance Insulation. You see, heat rises. 80% escapes through the ceiling. Whether it's 20 or 110 degrees outside, Eagle Shield will keep you comfortable inside by reflecting 90% of the heat back in during the winter. It's important, creates a barrier the heat cannot penetrate in the summer. Eagle Shield keeps you comfortable and saves you money. Right now, the first 50 callers get a space-age water heater, $175. Plus, when you mention KCBS, get 25% off. Folks, it's affordable and it works. Call them now, 800-88-EAGLE, 883-2453. 800-883-2453. 800-883-2453.
Eagle. The Eagle has landed. Call 1-800-88-EAGLE.
Hey, it's Greg O'Donnell. People like you are all radio show and asking, is now the time to refinance? And if that's you, I've got great news. I can offer you a 30-year fixed, no cost at 5%. That's right, a 30-year fixed at 3.5% rate in APR. If you're looking to reposition, reduce, or eventually eliminate, then call me at 866-496-2300 or go to my website, o'donnellfinancialgroup.com, and click on the link. For the past 33 years, I've been the Bay Area's personal, local, independent advisor, and I'd love to help you because planning is not a product. 866-496-2300 or online at o'donnellfinancialgroup.com.
Licensed by Cal Bree, number 31, NMLS, number 298004, APR 350. Not all applicants will qualify. Rates subject to change. Remember, you must have an income as defined by the IRS.
The opioid epidemic affects thousands in Northern each year due to the rapidly growing use of super potent opioids like fentanyl. R&R Centers in Pleasanton provides outpatient treatment for those who seek support in reducing physical pain while managing withdrawal symptoms from addiction and are dedicated to helping individuals overcome addiction with dignity, compassion, and professionalism. If you or a loved one is in need of addiction recovery, visit rnrcenters.com and take your life back today.
I'm Ron Reagan, an unabashed atheist, armed by the intrusions of religion into our secular government. That's why I'm asking you to join the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest and most effective organizations and agnostics working to keep state and church separate. Phone 1-800-335-4021, 1-800-335-4021, or visit Religion Foundation at ffrf.org. Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
1:58 traffic and weather together. Bay Bridge with Peter Schofield.
It's 80 westbound, just before the tunnel at Treasure Island. It's a car that ran out of gas, and it's blocking the right lane. Slow traffic behind it. If you shift over to the left lanes, you should get around it okay. But back at the toll plaza, I haven't said this for a while, early on a Sunday afternoon, the metering and traffic is backed up almost to the 880 overpass. Starting tomorrow morning at 5, the express lanes in the Bay Area will no longer be free. Traffic on the Bay Area freeing to normal, so the express lanes will no longer be free starting Monday morning at 5. Your next traffic update, 2:08 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
CBS forecast, cooler temperatures, cloudy skies, 60s at the coast, 70s by the bay, upper 70s inland. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on All News and AM 740 KCBS. It's Sunday, May 31st, 2020, coming up on KCBS.
I'm Bob Butler in San Francisco, where the vice prompted the mayor to impose a curfew.
It will be in force 8 p.m. tonight until 5 a.m. in the morning.
And that curfew follows yesterday's protest in San Francisco, started peacefully but ended in looting. And the Pentagon is making plans to help governors maintain the peace. Good afternoon. I'm Liz St. John. Dan Mitchison is up next. CBS News covers the world next.
When you need to know, KCBS AM, KFR, and HD1. San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, a radio.com station.
I'm Sam Litzinger. Several cities are imposing curfews again tonight, and more violence connected to the protests over the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. In many places, as in Pittsburgh, people are clearing away the damage from that stopped being peaceful. In others, as in Charlotte, North Carolina, the protests are ongoing. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot says she fully supports the peaceful protesters. It's those who aren't peaceful that are causing her pain.
So hurt and angry at those who decided to try to hijack this moment and use it as an opportunity to loot and to destroy.
Washington, D.C.'s mayor says the violence and vandalism from the previous night's protests were committed by an organized group that appeared more bent on destruction than protest. CBS News correspondent Cameron McCormick says the Pentagon is making plans to help governors who ask for it.
National Security Advisor Bryan says there are no current plans to federalize the Guard, but if necessary, further military assets could be deployed, like military police units. He said the President would like to keep this at the local level and a law enforcement matter, which is supported by the National Guard.
Ben Crump is an attorney for George Floyd's family.
Nor I agree with violence. Just like Dr. King, we don't try to justify it, but we know that what is happening from people being unheard far too long, and they're just tired, and they're saying that we are Americans too.
He was on CBS's Face the Nation. The Republican National Committee says it wants to hear from North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper by Wednesday on whether the state can fully accommodate the party's national convention in August this summer. The demand comes a day after Cooper talked by phone with President Trump about the issue. The two disagreed about the feasibility of a full. Officials across the South are scrambling to adjust their hurricane plans around the coronavirus pandemic. Hurricane season starts tomorrow. The press surveyed dozens of local and state emergency management officials from Texas to Virginia. More than 60 of them say they're still working on plans for public hurricane shelters. One caution during the pandemic, a nightmare scenario. Academics who study disasters are worried going into this hurricane season. They're saying they want to plan to get by with very little government help. This is CBS News.
World races to respond to the coronavirus pandemic. CBS News Radio is covering every aspect of the story, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
These are unprecedented times, which are causing a lot of stress and financial worry for millions of Americans. But here's some good news. If you owe back taxes to the IRS, tax relief can reduce the stress in your life by helping you resolve your tax debt right from the safety of your own home. Make no mistake, you don't want to ignore the IRS right. Take your paycheck and everything you work so hard for. But with Optima on your side, you may qualify for help that saves you thousands. Their tax professionals specialize in the fresh, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and has resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for taxpayers in the nation. So now's the time for tax help you need, for tax help you trust. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Of dollars. Moss heads up everything from Lincoln Center's Great Performance Series to American Songbook to Midsummer Night's Swing. Programming has been canceled and the fall season is in peril. Moss says she had been thinking about leaving before the pandemic. Allison Keyes, CBS News.
Pope Francis is cautioning against pessimism as many emerging from lockdown during the coronavirus pandemic. During Mass in St. Peter's Basilica, Francis lamented the tendency to say nothing will return as before. He says that will guarantee the one thing that certainly does not return is hope. Sam Litzinger, CBS News.
205 news station, KCBS. A little bit cooler today. A lot of cloud cover around the Bay. Highs in the 60s at the coast. Low 70s around the Bay, upper 70s inland. Good afternoon. I'm In just a few hours at 8 o'clock tonight, a curfew goes into effect in San Francisco. The city's mayor, London Breed, says it will remain for the foreseeable future. Protests over the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. KCBS's Bob Butler starts our team coverage this afternoon and tells us the new restrictions will impact the reopening of business.
It is common for protests in San Francisco to start peacefully, but once the sun goes down, Mayor London Breed says fires are set, cars are damaged, and stored.
That is really not something that we can tolerate. And in fact, in watching the videos, I was extremely upset. Unfortunately, with some of the vandals, they thought this was a game. They thought this was funny. And this is not funny.
Fire Chief Janine Nicholson says were busy all night.
We responded to dozens and dozens of fires throughout different parts of the city, intentionally set.
The 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew does not apply to essential workers. Police Chief Bill Scott says it does apply to retail stores and curbside sales.
What I will tell you is if you're not supposed to be out, you are subject to being stopped. You are subject to being cited within the law. And so think about that before.
In San Francisco, Bob Butler, KCBS.
Meanwhile, yesterday's protest in San Francisco had the familiar tone of those that are being held throughout the country. Kay Novak continues our coverage.
It started with anger, but when it became violence and looting, Mayor London Breed says it crossed a line. Kenyatta Lewis watched looters smashing windows downtown, grabbing items from stores and starting fires in the street.
It's not a protest. This is a nationwide riot. This has never been a protest. It's been about a nationwide riot all along. Enough is enough.
The looting started as night fell and followed hours of peaceful demonstrators marched through the city, periodically stopping traffic and chanting at lines of police in riot gear.
They're not a gang. They're citizens. They get paid to do a job. Do it right.
We need to be enraged. Like Colin Kaepernick said, we're just tired. It's like we're not going to change until we do something, until the government changes it. And if we don't get that, then we shouldn't stop.
The mayor says she understands the anger. It's the violence she won't tolerate. In San Francisco, Kathy Novak, KCBS.
We are also learning the federal security officer shot and killed on Friday night in Oakland was 53-year-old resident of Pinole. The FBI says his name was David Patrick Underwood. As a contract security officer for the Department of Homeland Security Federal Protective Service, a white van reportedly pulled up to the federal building Friday night, and the occupants of 2 security guards. Underwood was killed. One other security guard was hurt. The FBI says they have not determined a motive for that shooting. Just ahead on KCBS.
I'm Jeffrey Schaub. The North Coast's Catholic bishop holds a service defying county health orders.
The church is about coming together.
Case time 2:08. First for traffic, and we say good afternoon again to Peter Schofield.
Good afternoon, Dan. We're looking at the Bay Bridge, 80 westbound. The metering lights are on, and traffic is backed up almost to the 880 overpass. Not much happening on the Bay Bridge to justify it, except possibly the car that's out of gas blocking the left lane just before the tunnel at Treasure, although that has been cleared or is in the final clearing stages. Even so, you still have the metering lights to deal with back at the toll plaza. Again, that's backed up to the 880 overpass. You do have a BART delay for San Francisco. BART is single tracking between the 24th Mission and Embarcadero stations. This is for scheduled maintenance on the tracks. You can toward the East Bay and SFO from those stations, so allow about an extra 30 minutes or so. And BART requires all passengers wear face covering or a mask, and BART will tonight at 9 p.m. So if you're on your train by 8:45, they guarantee you'll still get to your destination. In Redwood City, 101 northbound before Marsh Road, landscaping debris that's been dropped and littered across the 2 right lanes. You get some brake tapping as you pass by. Your next traffic update, 2:18 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
Forecast, clouds at the coast, sunshine inland, a little bit cooler today. Will be in the 60s at the beaches, low 70s around the bay, upper 70s inland. Lows tonight in the mid-50s just about everywhere. And then tomorrow we'll see cloudy skies in the morning with a mix of clouds and sunshine later in the afternoon. The winds could also pick up later in the day. Look for highs in the 60s. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on KCBS. In an exclusive interview with KCBS, Santa Rosa's Catholic bishop spoke about his decision to preside over a despite county shelter-in-place orders which forbid it. Jeffrey Schaub has more from Santa Rosa.
Bishop Robert Vasa gave his sermon at St. Eugene's Cathedral in Santa Rosa. Vasa says he was dismayed that houses of worship were not included among a number of businesses allowed to partially reopen 1 week ago.
The outdoor dining at breweries and wineries and restaurants, I just never in my wildest imaginings did I think that had happened that would preclude simply adding this to that list of other items.
Sonoma County's health officer strenuously objected not to have his mass inside the cathedral as originally planned, rather in an outside garden.
The pews are 3 foot spacing. Every other pew is mapped out. There's floor every 6 feet. The communion stations are 12 feet apart.
Church member John Gunderson says not being able to come to church has been isolated.
It's really nice just being able to come here, even though we can't go in the church, but seeing our friends and our family here is a blessing.
In Santa Rosa, Jeffrey Schaub, KCBS.
It was another night of vandalism and violence as protesters faced off with police and looters targeted businesses in the Oakland-Emeryville area. KCBS's Matt Bigler was there as it happened.
It was drive-through looting at the Oakland Best Buy. After it was broken into by rioters, looters would drive up, run in and grab something, usually a TV, and then take off.
We heard that chaos was going on, so we came here to make sure the business was all right. And this is just insanity. I've never seen this in this town before.
Donato Polignone is a small business owner in Emeryville. He asked a sheriff's deputy on scene why they didn't put a stop to the looting.
And he basically told me that they're not really allowed to do anything about the looting. So they just had to allow it to happen.
Other businesses targeted by looters included GameStop, a Decathlon sporting goods store, and several businesses in the Bay Street Shopping Center. Oakland-Emeryville border, Matt Bigler, KCBS.
Who are some of the people many are concerned about when baseball season starts up, especially because of this pandemic? In about 2.5 minutes on KCBS.
Beth Miller-Rowe is the Bay Area's reverse mortgage specialist. With over 35 years' experience, Beth brings knowledge to her clientele. The peace of mind a reverse mortgage can give you is priceless. Life can change on a dime. A reverse mortgage can provide a safety net for difficult to increase cash flow for a more enjoyable retirement. If you've ever considered a reverse mortgage, now is the time to call Beth at the Reverse Mortgage Group. Call today, 5-969-0380. Beth is located here in the Bay Area, offering free consultations in a friendly, professional, no-pressure atmosphere. Give Beth a call at 925-969-0380. That's 925-969-0380. Borrower must pay property taxes, insurance, and HOA dues and live in and maintain the home. NMLS 294-774-1850-831612. Licensed under the Department of Business or ERMLA. Equal Housing Opportunity.
Since 1950, Clark Pest Control has been the Bay Area's trusted source for eradicating unwanted pests, termites, but more. And now they are also offering their Essential Clean disinfecting service for use against COVID-19. Contact Clark Pest Control for your free contactless inspection. All services will be performed by technicians wearing PPE gear and, as always, backed by the Clark Pest Control Guarantee. Call 1-800-WE-NEED-YOU or visit Clark Pest. That's clarkpest.com.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then go and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and it starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel free. Just go to babbel.com or download the Babbel app and start learning a new language today. That's babbel.com, BABBEL.com.
Coming up on KCBS, a curfew goes into effect in San Francisco in just a few hours, but how effective will it be to stop looting and rioting? We'll discuss coming up in 5 minutes. Sports time right now at KCBS. Here's Kevin Radich.
When baseball returns later on this summer, you have to worry about older managers in the game like Dusty Baker, the Astros skipper who joined Jason Stark and former big leaguer Doug Glanville on the Starkcast. Dusty was asked if he's worried about his health history during this pandemic.
Well,
I'm concerned, but I'm not worried, I mean, I know my health concerns, but on the other hand, I've been through a lot.
Dusty overcame prostate cancer 18 years ago and a stroke 7 years ago. Says he's taken all precautions.
Most people don't get a warning in life. They just have a heart attack and die or stroke and never be the same. So, the fact that I've gotten warnings that, tells you to clean up your life. I got more mass than you can imagine. I mean, we get back to ball. I mean, they're going to think that I'm a ranger or something when I get out there.
And his family helps?
My daughter's on me, my wife, my son, about wiping down things, social distance. And, perhaps I could help other people, know how to, get through this thing. And if it does, then, in my heart, I think that the Lord wouldn't have brought me back here in this situation to take me out like this, but you don't want to be a fool and test it either.
Plenty of fools out there, and Dusty is nobody's. At the sports desk, Kevin Radich, KCBS.
Our government that for the new stay-at-home plan to succeed, certain household appliances are essential. Kitchen and laundry for sure, but communication and entertainment appliances are essential. If the limited selection at the big box stores isn't enough for you, then let Video Only try to help. There's deep discounts on the 2019 Smart TV, trade-in allowances on the new 2020 models. Better than the club or online. Check out Video Only before you buy, or you'll be sorry.
Whether friends for a virtual happy hour, FaceTime calls with your parents, or drive-by birthday parties, we're all finding ways to stay connected. And Radio.com helps you stay connected and the entertainment you love. Go to Radio.com and the Radio.com app for the latest local and national news, podcasts to keep you inspired and the family entertained. Your work-from-home soundtrack with hundreds of music and sports stations. We'll be with you whenever you need us. Go to Radio.com and the Radio.com app to stay connected.
Whenever the news breaks, wherever the news breaks, you can count on us.
A 4-alarm fire continues to rage at San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf. We go now live to KCBS's Tim Ryan. He's on the scene. Tim?
A major structure fire at Pier 45 at Fisherman's Wharf.
KCBS is the only broadcasting live around the clock. All news, all the time, right here on KCBS.
KCBS 15, first for traffic. Peter Schofield's here, and we are starting at the Bay Bridge.
I'm looking at the Bay Bridge, Toll Plaza 80 westbound, and I have to say I'm somewhat incredulous as I do so. The metering lights are on, but without the heavy traffic on the bridge that would typically justify it. This report brought to you by Hint Water. There was a car that was out of the tunnel at Treasure Island in the westbound side, but that is gone, and there is some road work in the area of the Toll Plaza, but all lanes at the Toll Plaza are open, and they're cycling the cars through slowly, although I just saw several CHP units roll through quietly in the left lane, but the metering lights are on. And speaking of bridges, the Bay Bridge, all Bay Area bridges, no cash is still the rule. No cash handling at the bridges was one of the first protections enacted with the pandemic, one of the last to go away. So even with shelter in place being modified, the no cash policy at all the bridges is still in effect. If you're paying cash, just drive on through and you'll get a bill. It is pure water infused with surprisingly true fruit flavors, including watermelon, blackberry, and cherry. No sugar, no sweeteners, no calories. Available in your local grocery store or at drinkhint.com. Hint, water with a touch of true fruit flavor. Your next traffic update at 2:28 on the Traffic Leader, KCBS.
6-day forecast, cloudy. Clouds tonight, too, with lows in the 50s. Cloudy skies in the morning tomorrow with a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon. Highs in the 60s and 70s. Tuesday and Wednesday, temperatures will warm up. In fact, we'll hit the low to mid 90s inland and we'll be into the 80s around the Bay. Thursday and Friday, slightly cooler. Sunny with highs into low 90s from the coast to the valleys. Traffic and weather together on the 8s on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS. KCBS News Time, 2:20.
CBS report. Heading into Sunday night, American cities remain tinderboxes after 5 nights of protest that have turned to outbreaks of widespread violence and destruction, all triggered in where a black man died with a white policeman's knee on his neck.
Things have to change. We have got to figure out how to make sure that justice is served.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
If we get to that systemic problem, eventually this will get us back to a point that led to our communities on fire, our security and safety in question, and a searching for who we are.
He's extending the curfew in the Twin Cities area, which has had some of the worst property damage, a scene mirrored in other Chicago. Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
And that's why I'm also hurt and angry at those who decided to try to hijack this moment and use it as an opportunity to wreak havoc, to loot, and to destroy.
CBS News Special Report. I'm Tom Foti.
KCBS News Time 2:21. As you heard here on KCBS, the city of San Francisco has enacted a curfew for demonstrations. That goes into effect at 8 o'clock tonight till 5 a.m. tomorrow. And as Mayor London Breed announced, that curfew will remain in place and the city is, quote, under control. And joining us with more on the KCBS Ring Central Newsline is San Francisco Supervisor Shamann Walton. Supervisor, thanks for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe this curfew will help curb some of the looting, some of the protesting that we've seen over the last 2 nights?
Well, obviously tensions are high. We lost another black man at the hands of law enforcement, an unwarranted death. And so people have strong feelings about when things are unjust and when they happen, even though it may not be in San Francisco. This is a trend and something that has happened all too often. And so folks are trying to do everything they can to let people know that they are not going to accept this and we need to make some changes. And with that said, obviously we want people to be hurt. We do not want property destroyed. We want people to be peaceful in their protests. We want people to speak out. We want people to be safe. And we don't want the unfortunate few that are trying to cause havoc in our streets and harm people and harm to overshadow what this is really about. And this is really about people speaking out about something that was unjust, something that was unwarranted. It's something that continue to tolerate.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because these protests were supposed to be about George Floyd's murder. But you look at what's happening now, not only around the Bay Area, Chicago and San Diego and New York, and these protesters have now made this movement about them, not about a dead man. So how do you have a civil conversation with people who are looting Targets and Nordstrom and stealing TVs and burning down businesses owned by African Americans?
Well, that's why we have to get in front of them. Sometimes people will try to infiltrate your narrative and infiltrate the focus, and that's what's happening here. We actually have people who want to protest peacefully, people who want to speak out and really push for the right change that needs to happen so that these types of tragedies don't happen at the hands of law enforcement ever again too often. And so there are people who are really working to affect that change, protest peacefully, and make sure that voices are heard and that changes are made. The problem is there are people who also want to jump in and create their own narrative, infiltrate the peaceful movements that are actually affecting change, and that we can't have. And so that's why the curfew is instituted, and that's why we are doing things to make sure that we keep people safe here in San Francisco. I don't want the curfew also to turn into something where we have high tensions with law enforcement and community, and this gets used as another way to create a situation where law enforcement and community have tensions. And so we also have to be careful about how we move forward with a curfew, or be careful about any strategy we put in place right now that would have law enforcement come in contact and who are angry and who know that we've seen something unjust happen again in our country.
So are you concerned about that curfew? Do you think hurt more?
I think that if we get a clear message out to folks that we are okay with peaceful protests, that something unjust and tragic happened, and we do want to allow a space for peaceful protests and for people to assemble and do it in a peaceful manner. And I think that as long as we work as a city leadership and as law enforcement to protect those rights, I think that we will see a good result from the curfew. But you have to get the information out. You have to let people know what they can do during this time because of the tensions. But it has to be done in a manner where people are respecting people's rights, and the focus is on information versus trying to criminalize anyone who may be trying to speak out.
All right, Supervisor, thanks very much for spending a few minutes with us this afternoon. That is San Francisco Supervisor Shamann Walton. And again, the city of San Francisco enacting a curfew for demonstrations. That is effective as of 8 o'clock tonight through 5 a.m. tomorrow, and will continue until the city is under control.
A bad year for the auto industry makes this a potentially good time for auto buyers.
I'm Jeff Colvin of Fortune Magazine with the Fortune Business Update. Auto sales have plunged during the past couple of months. No surprise with the unemployment rate in double digits, people cutting back on travel. The prices of used cars especially have fallen steeply, and Edmunds expects them to stay low through the rest of the year. The side is that used car trade-in values have also taken a hit. Owners looking to trade in their vehicle for a new purchase may be surprised by how little they're off with list values. New cars are a better buy than they've been in years. Memorial Day incentives and price cuts were more generous than normal, and financing is. The average interest rate on new financed vehicles fell to 4.3% in April, down from 6.3% a year earlier. I'm Jeff Colvin.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love you, Amy. The time is now to rise up. Gone are the days of being locked in option by your wireless company. We're humans. We need flexibility. Let us change our data options when we want to. We call the shots on our phone bills. It's time we took a stand and switched to Xfinity Mobile. We can switch data options anytime. Only Xfinity Mobile works for the people.
Hey, what about 5G?
Yes, 5G is now included with all new data options at no extra cost. One more thing, pineapple belongs on pizza. It should be on every pizza. Should have quit while I was ahead.
Switch and save a year on your wireless bill. Your wireless, your rules, only with Xfinity Mobile. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go to XfinityMobile.com or call 1-800-XFINITY today. Restrictions apply. Require internet 5G in select locations only.
Monument Crisis Center is a community-based nonprofit in the East Bay serving low-income and at-risk families, seniors, and children in need. Due to COVID-19, the need for food and essentials has gone up over 300% and increasing by the minute. In the past 9 weeks, Monument Crisis Center has distributed enough food to make over 450,000 meals. Your help is needed more than ever. Please donate now at monumentcrisiscenter.org or text MC1444.
KCBS News Time, 2:28. Back out to the roads we go for an update on traffic from Peter.
Well, the Bay Bridge found at the toll plaza. I got a call from the KCBS phone force about the backup at the metering lights, which are on. We saw a number of CHP vehicles lined up in toll plaza in the far left lane, but that was a while ago. Traffic is backed up from the metering lights back to before the 880 overcrossing. The KCBS phone force traffic for us is 415-391-KCBS, 391-5227. There's a BART delay for San Francisco today. BART is single track Fourth Mission and Embarcadero stations. This is for track work that was scheduled. You can expect delays toward the East Bay and SFO from those stations, so allow an extra 30 minutes. And BART requires all passengers to wear a face covering or a mask. BART will end service tonight at 9 p.m. That's the closing time. But if you're on your train, they say we'll guarantee you a ride all the way to your destination. Your next traffic update, 2:38 on the traffic leader, KCBS.
And our Bay Area forecast, a lot of clouds by the coast this afternoon, a little more sunshine inland with temperatures there into the 70s. At least upper 70s. Will be low 70s around the Bay. Tonight, mostly cloudy with lows in the lower to mid 50s. Together on the 8s on All News 106.9 and AM 740 KCBS.
This is Larry Fleck, owner of the Floor Store. All of us here are overjoyed to be open again. But you know who's really excited? Our in-house designers, because they can't wait to get back to helping you with your redecorating plans. So to help them help you, we're having a reopening sale. Up to 50% off store-wide, 24 months interest-free financing, and no sales tax. All in a clean and safe environment. Come in soon. Our designers are waiting for you. Go to floorstores.com to find the nearest of our 9 showrooms. From Santa Rosa to San Jose. The Floor Store, your Bay Area flooring authority.
We've always had villains to face.
But you are the most horrible of all.
We are to do something.
To stand up to cancer.
Stand up to fight.
Stand up to win. Visit standuptocancer.org to learn more.
News that matters to you around the Bay, around the world, around the clock. All News 106.9 and AM KCBS.
It's Sunday, May 31st, coming up on KCBS. Cars gathering in downtown Oakland in solidarity of the national protests against police brutality. Reporters are no longer just reporting on these protests. They've become part of the story. Good afternoon, I'm Dan Mitchinson. KCBS News Time, 2:31.
A special report in many cities tonight. The National Guard will be on patrol, trying to head off more violence associated with the protests over the death of George Floyd. Chicago is cleaning up after a rough night. This protester in Minneapolis says the goal of the peaceful demonstrations is clear.
We as a people are tired of marching, and now it's time for this country to do what it should have done a long time ago and deal with its racism.
Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin.
These participants threw lit firework crowds. Demonstrators threw bottles of frozen water at police, rocks, and other projectiles. Many Molotov cocktails were thrown.
Mayor's extended a curfew for another night. Georgia's governor has authorized up to 3,000 National Guard troops to be deployed across the state. President Trump has urged leaders to get tough with those he calls radical leftists out to do damage. CBS News Special Report, I'm Sam Litzinger.
KCBS News Time, 2:32 coverage this afternoon. A large procession of cars making their way down 7th Street in Oakland right now in solidarity with the protests against the death of George Floyd. KCBS's Bob Butler joins us now live from the scene with more. Bob?
Yeah, I'm on 7th Street and Middle Harbor Road down near the Port of Oakland, and you have, I don't know how there are, but there are a whole lot of them who demonstrate into downtown Oakland. Obviously, they want justice for George Floyd.